Hi everyone, you're on Snail TV. Today we're going to talk about the 2021 sports drama King Richard, starring Will Smith, based on a true story. Let's go! Richard Williams lives in a modest house in the small town of Compton. He works as a security guard, but dreams of opening a tennis club to grow world-class sports stars from gifted girls. Of course, the hero considers his daughters Serena and Venus gifted. The nickname King Richard was attached to the man because of his exorbitant, according to the inhabitants' ambitions. Unfortunately, none of the rich people of the city wants to become a sponsor of the future sports club. Richard brings all his daughters, 2 of his own and 3 adopted, to an old abandoned court in a poor neighborhood in an old minibus, clears the site, and then conducts a tennis lesson with Venus and Serena as a personal trainer. The man is not rich, but he himself was fond of the sports before, and therefore he has to train his daughters himself without the participation of a qualified teacher. Guys from the gang in the area molest one of the hero's daughters, 16 years old Tunda. The enraged father approached them, asked them not to touch the girl, but received several blows from the gang leader. Richard brought the girls home and told them that he was often beaten as a child, and there was no one to intercede for him because he grew up without a father. But his daughters will be respected by the whole world because he will grow them into real tennis stars. The man has a plan for success, which he came up with long before the birth of Serena and Venus. In the evening, the hero's wife Brandy tells him that the girls do not need miserable public courts, but professional surfaces and experienced coaches. And besides, Richard has sore knees. The man answers her that he will definitely find an opportunity to train his daughters in decent conditions. The hero comes to work to the security service of the Samsung company, lays out books and magazines about tennis on the table, after which he finds an article about coach Vic Braden. Richard records training videos of his daughter Venus and Serena, then shows the footage to Braden. The coach says that no one will dare to train girls for free, since it is a lottery. The chances of achieving high skill and success are very unlikely. A caring father treats all his daughters in a cafe, and he himself comes to an unwinted public court. The gang from the area again comes to their party place, after which the leader of the young scumbags insults Richard's daughter. The enraged hero is not restrained and attacks the enemy, but the bully's friends beat him severely in response. The man armed himself with service weapons and found his offenders. He waits for the moment when they say goodbye, then goes to the leader with the firm intention of shooting him. However, competitors from another gang shoot his enemy from a car window. After the death of the main bandit, the claims against the Williams family spending time in the public court disappeared. A couple of days later, Richard takes Venus and Serena to a prestigious court in an elite area to introduce them to the famous coach Paul Cohen, who trains world-class tennis players. After some persuasion, Cohen agrees to watch the girls play only because of the hero's perseverance. The coach begins testing the sisters' fitness level, then sends Serena away from a break, while he himself conducts a tougher test with Venus. The young female tennis player beats all the severe with perseverance and skill, after which Cohen asks the girl if they want to become the best in the world, to which he receives a predictable answer. This is their most cherished dream. The hero's family is happy, as one of the most famous trainers in the world has agreed to cooperate with them. But there is a problem. Cohen is ready to train only Venus for free, which seemed to him more promising. Besides, she is older than Serena. Young Venus begins training under the guidance of the master, who raised Pete Sampras himself. Richard records everything on camera so that he can later use the recording as video lessons for the rest of his daughters. Coach Cohen invites Venus to show his level by playing in local junior competitions. The girl enters the court, having received the approval of her father. A young female tennis player, whose talent of the future star is dormant, receives her first sports award in her life. Venus' victories follow one another, after which the female tennis player wins the state junior tournament. One day, Richard trains his daughters in the pouring rain to teach them how to play in extreme conditions with unpredictable trajectories of wet balls. The heroes return home and see a parked police car. It turns out that an anonymous call was received that children are being brought up in difficult conditions. The father of the family explains, beside himself with rage, that he trained Serena and Venus in the rain with their consent because their dream is to become world tennis stars. The girl's mother, Brittany, knocks on the neighbor's house opposite because she's 100% sure that she complained to the police, after which she asked to stop interfering with the life and future career of her beloved daughters. Venus registers for the next tennis tournament. Then it turns out that her sister SERENA has also signed up to participate in the competition, despite the fact that she only trained thanks to video under the guidance of her mother. One of the coaches tells Richard that his youngest daughter is doing very well on the court. Spouses move to the next field, after which they wish success to SERENA. The result of this tournament is the Gold Cup for Venus, who has already won 17 victories in junior competitions in different states, and the Silver Cup for her younger sister. At the next tournament, Richard receives an offer from wealthy sponsoring agents to take on all the cost of promoting the young sports star Venus. But he behaves aggressively and refuses, as he is sure that they will be deceived in the end. Later, Coach Cohen comes to the hero's house, after which he tells him that the Venus professional career without a contract is doomed to failure. Richard unpleasantly surprises his daughter's sports mentor by refusing to continue further cooperation with him. The hero calls up a famous coach, MACY, and invites him to train Venus and SERENA, very promising young tennis players. The coach personally comes to a small town to assess the potential of future stars. MACY is impressed by the sisters' performance, so he offers them a contract at 15% of the girls' future earnings. But Richard offers the coach to sign their contract, which includes the provision of motorhome, house in Florida, free training for his 4, not 2 daughters, and also a job for the head of the family. Surprisingly, MACY agrees to all conditions, just to get promising female tennis players. The Williams family moves to Florida. The new coach shows them chic courts, 2 of which are now designed for the daughters of our hero. After 3 years of hard training, Venus asks Rick to talk to her father about allowing her to take part in a professional tournament in Oakland. The coach gives a lot of arguments, as a result of which Richard agrees. After some time, the hero changes his mind, as Rick's previous pupil burnt out and went down the crooked path. She was arrested for possession and use of drugs. The father is afraid that the same fate will befall Venus. After the change of decision, a scandal arises between the spouses. Richard then realizes that SERENA and Venus' athletic accomplishments are actually the work of him and his wife, BRANDY, who has always supported him and also coached the girls when he was busy. The man comes to the court, after which he tells his daughter that he's afraid that she will lose, but he's still ready to take risks if Venus herself feels that she's ready for a serious tournament. The girl says that her lifelong dream is to become the first racket of the world, and she feels that she's ready to take the next step towards this. The 14-year-old rising star of world tennis competes in her first professional tournament, Bank of the West. In the evening, a sponsor comes to them, offers a contract for $3 million, as well as the release of a branded clothing line with the name Venus. The girl says that she is not ready to accept the first offer, although it is very tempting, because her dream is not money, but victory, and therefore let the sponsors frustrate her in the game. During the debut, the heroine is initially worried, misses a lot of balls, but pulls herself together. She evens the score and then wins. Joyful Venus answers the reporter's question about tomorrow's game against the first racket of the world, Arantxa Sanchez Vicario, like this: "I think I can beat anyone, I just have to play." Richard approaches the sad youngest daughter SERENA, after which he tells her that someday she will become not just the first racket, but the best on the planet, the greatest female tennis player of all time. The next evening comes. The stands are full, as the match promises to be the most interesting in this tournament. To the surprise of the fans, Venus wins the first set, then leads the second set. The enraged, but at the same time very experienced and cunning world champion throws a racket, after which she hides in the restroom for a long time specifically to bring down the concentration of her rival. This is a dirty trick, but it's not prohibited by the rules. Vicario appears on the court 10 minutes later, and the game resumes, but Venus has clearly lost the mood she needs to win. The heroine loses game after game, and the score is even. Venus never got into the right shape after a long break specially arranged by her opponent, and she loses her first professional match. But the jubilant crowd of fans rises from their seats and gives her a flurry of applause. Richard and BRANDY come to the dressing room to their crying daughter, calm her down and tell her that she is a fighter and a real champion at heart. The Williams family leaves the empty court, but behind the gates of the stadium, Venus suddenly sees a crowd of cheering fans and photojournalists who have appreciated the game of the rising world tennis star. If you don't have tears in your eyes at this moment, know that you're a completely insensitive person. The heroine's coach approaches Richard. Then he says that immediately after the match, his phone is bursting with calls from representatives of the world's leading sports brands. Everyone offers to conclude an exclusive contract with Venus for a huge amount. 9 months later, the female tennis player signs a contract with Reebok for $12 million. The heroine at the time was only 15 years old. In the future, she will become a 5-time winner of the Wimbledon tournament, and her younger sister Serena will become the greatest tennis player on the planet, as their wise father Richard Williams predicted. This was a brief retelling of the 2021 sports drama King Richard. Subscribe to Snail TV, put likes, and enjoy the most interesting and soulful movies only with us.